Good morning, everyone. Yay! Somebody spoke. Isn't that wonderful? That's fantastic. I know there's a lot of visiting going on, which is awesome. But I also want to say thank you for those people who are worshiping with us for the first time. I'm sorry, I'm not looking at anybody, but it is always great when we gather differently. Every person brings something special to this place. Each of our spirits adds to the energy. So I am very grateful for all the people that are in this sanctuary space. I'm also thrilled to bits to see those people on Zoom. You are amazing as always. I hope you're sitting comfy and have a coffee or whatever it is that you need. So let us begin by finding out what is going on in this faith community, because it is much more than worship on a Sunday morning, as important as that is. So I am going to invite two very special people, Tracy and Mary, and they are going to come and speak about the book event. And they are holding Marge's spirit too, because these are the organizers of last. That's okay. Do not get, yeah. And you need to come up. Yes. Comfortable shoes are always good, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, good morning. And again, we're sorry that Marge couldn't be here today. Last year, exhaustedly, I remember telling Karen, can you please do the thank you for us? Because we were just too wiped out at the time. And but we think it's really, really important to do the thank you. So we wanted to make a concerted effort to do that here today. So first of all, we'd like to thank RHUC for in particular help this year in letting us store the books in Lower Centennial Hall. That was made a huge, huge difference to our logistics.
Absolutely.
And bringing the books in, because before we were bringing them from Marge's house,
Or our house.
your house, my house, and yeah, and also in that we were able to have the several days that we were taking donations, so that and that allowed us because we had the storage here. So that's really important. And Karen, we want to thank you because she's kind of the silent partner in all of this. She really helps us with things going on here. And of course, she gave her whole Friday afternoon on Friday to be at the debit and credit card spot, which can be really, really busy. It's a pinch point, but that's a good problem to have if we have a lot of people that are leaving with a bunch of books. We also want to thank RHUC congregants for those that helped us before, during, and after the event. There's a lot of people that go into having to store the books, but there's a lot of curating, and Mary's a very good curator, and there's and the people in the audience also know who you are, who are good curators, because this year, I must say, Mary, it was a particularly lovely collection
Yes.
of books. And that's because, and I'm going to use a phrase that I thought about earlier, and that's this book sale is from the community. So all of you who quietly left books in, we'd come and we would it was like the shoemaker, the elves and the shoemaker. We'd come in to, be there for donations, and we'd be like, there's all kinds of books that have been dropped off. So
It was like Christmas too sometimes.
yeah, yeah. So we really appreciate that. So it's from the community that we get books. It's held in the community, and it's for the community, and that's really what our goal is. We also want to give a shout out to two other United Churches that you probably don't know were involved in this, in donations.
Yes.
Some of you may heard that Temperanceville had a book where you fill a bag, and And one day they showed up at our donation day and they said, we have a whole bunch of books for you. And we went, and because Marge had gone to the
Yes,
sale.
yes, she
And
had.
she had put the bug in the air. That's what it was.
So we would take the leftover books.
Yeah. So, but then when they came, they told us that they got theirs from Aurora, who had their sale. And their leftovers went to Temperance and their leftovers came here. So
However, what you don't know is it was a flotilla of cars that arrived in the back parking lot. And a mountain of books were delivered. Now, it took us several weeks to get through all those.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Dan is another huge help that we couldn't do without, helping us with signs, dollies, all the back of the house stuff that you guys don't see. And Nava, we unleashed her creativity. And if any of you, those of you who came to the event saw the signs that she made, we would just say what the topic was and she ran with it. And so she was a huge help. And she sat on the Friday afternoon greeting people.
And she collected books as people delivered them to the office throughout the year as well.
Yes, yes. Donna Smith and her amazing cafe and crew. We want to thank you because that's always a little spot that's nice for people that gather together. They come to the sale and then they go off and they.
That's the icing on the cake, Donna. Thank you.
Yes, I know it's a lot. Yeah, literally, yeah. We also want to thank Astrum. That's the school that resides here, and they've always been a huge supporter of our event. Even they get their students to help sometimes with carrying the books and moving the books. So we want to shout out to them. They're creating quite the library. I want to mention this one as a little anecdote because
I think we should.
Mary didn't realize how much Molly likes sandwiches.
Say who Molly is, not
Oh,
everybody knows.
Molly is our back of the house dog, Dan's dog. And she's our church dog. And she really needed a sandwich one day. And maybe you want to tell the story.
Well, my bag was lying on just on the floor, and all of a sudden, Anne was there sorting books, and she said, "Oh, Molly's eating someone's sandwich." So Molly had stealthily retrieved the sandwich from the bag. It was wrapped in tinfoil. She neatly unraveled it, and she managed to eat the sandwich within the perimeter of the tinfoil, leaving, and there was quite a bit of lettuce in it, and she only left 2 little leaves of lettuce. She was very neat. She came back the next day, but I had the bag out.
Checking out, yes. Yeah. Also, I think we need to thank, even though mine's not here, but at least our spouses
Yes.
who really fill in a lot of gaps for emotional and physical strength during that. Salvation Army, we have a shout out for them because they never turn us away when we curate. The books initially have to go somewhere, and the Salvation Army welcomes us with open arms. We also should say that the amount this year is approximately, it's not official yet, it's $4,000 we raised, which is our best year ever. So thank you to everybody.
Yes, thank you.
And for those of you who don't know, it's going to be equally divided between our outreach, RHUC's outreach, the Global Medic and Loft outreach van that goes around helping people that are living rough in York Region, all over York Region. The van has anywhere from personal hygiene and underwear all the way to food, sleeping bags and all that. And so we want to support those people living in our community. And I want to personally thank Mary because I couldn't do it without her and Marge. And Marge, if you're watching, thank you. And the last one I think would be Costco.
Yes.
Because we go to Costco a lot and get their boxes.
We actually go in there and use a cart. We don't buy anything. We just go in there, fill up a cart of boxes and walk out again.
I had one lady ask me, well, you gotta still have those looked at. And so anyhow, yeah.
Yeah.
So we've gone above and beyond. Thank you. And thank you for not playing the music, Barry, and having us come off the stage.
So stay there. DJ, I'm going to invite you to come up.
I'd like to thank you for the delightful stories you told this morning. We as a church are really appreciative of the work that you've been doing the last 3 or 4 years with this book sale. And we'd like to give you a hand of applause.
Thank you.
It really is wonderful to open the church to the community. And that is our goal as a board, to make this a place of arts and culture, and nothing like books for arts and culture. Yeah. We also know that you're doing a good thing in recycling. It really is recycling as you talk about it. And again, that's one of the goals of this church, is to be environmentally friendly, and that certainly is. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are released.
I'm going to stay here for a moment to make an announcement. On October 6th, immediately following our service, there will be a congregation meeting. And it is a very important congregation meeting. We have to give, of course, 3 weeks notice, and you've had some notice prior to today. And we will be discussing why these white ropes and the problems with the organ in terms of its location. And we'll be discussing the decisions that the board has struggled over for the whole summer. So I hope everybody will be present for that occasion. Thank you.
Thank you. So DJ is chair of the board at Richmond Hill United Church. So let us just calm our minds and our spirits as Barry helps to center us with music. As you can see on our communion table, the community candles have been lit. We have the candle that shows our faith in Jesus, Jesus the radical that teaches us how to live love in the world. We have the candle of affirmation, whose wonderful colors draw the circle wide that says that every single person is welcome in this place. And the candle of reconciliation, lighting a path to healing and mending broken covenants. And the candle that celebrates our diversity, highlighting our commitment to become an intercultural church. And so we acknowledge the sacred land upon which this church operates, the traditional territories of many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people across Turtle Island, and we seek to honor our closest neighbors, the Chippewas of Georgina Island. We also want to acknowledge that York Region is subject to a couple of treaties and covenants. One of them is the Wampum Belt Covenant. The other is the Dish with One Spoon Treaty. And they are agreements for all of us to live peaceably, to share the resources around the Great Lakes. So let us join our voices together in the call to worship. I have the regular font and you have the bold. Come and worship. Be still and aware of God's presence within and around all of us. We're here to worship, aware of Jesus' coming presence within and around us. We are gathered in community, open to the Spirit's presence, both within and around us all. So let us continue in prayer. O God, great Spirit and Creator, give us one heart and mind to walk forward together along a path of healing. In the love and strength of your Spirit, in truth and reconciliation and peace, we make this prayer in the power of your holy name. Amen. And let us sing together a Voices United hymn. The words will come up on the PowerPoint. But if you want to look at the hymn book, it is the burgundy-colored book that's in the pews. And we are singing Be Still My Soul, 652. We have been exploring a worship series called Tell Me the Stories of Jesus, and these stories have come from you. You have suggested stories that are meaningful for you, maybe that you've had questions about, and it has been a real delight to engage with people around these Jesus stories. And perhaps that hymn gave you a bit of an inkling about what our story is. Maybe this banner gives you another clue about what that story might be. I'll just let you ponder that as we sing our scripture song. Just stay seated and we'll sing together, Tell Me the Stories of Jesus. Look at the images, they help too. So I invite Jane Wedlock to come and tell us one of those stories.
Good morning, everyone. I'm reading from Luke 8, verses 22 to 25 from the New International Version. One day, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us go over to the other side of the lake." So they got into a boat and set out. As they sailed, he fell asleep. A squall came down on the lake so that the boat was being swamped, and they were in great danger. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Master, Master, we are going to drown." He got up and rebuked the wind and the raging waters. The storm subsided and all was calm. "Where is your faith?" he asked the disciples. In fear and amazement, they asked one another, "Who is this? He commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him." I was drawn to this passage because I am so struck by all the storms of life, but particularly the storms facing the church as we struggle with an uncertain future, not only with the denomination, but also Richmond Hill United. And what does it mean to be faithful in the midst of all of this? Jesus invites his disciples into the boat to journey. I consider this an invitation to us all. I don't know if we assume it will be smooth sailing, that we know where we are and where we are heading, that we think we will be the same when we reach the other side. We step into the boat, but then things get rough, and the wind blows, and the rain is relentless, and the waves crash. This may not be what we expected, what we signed up for. Life on land was maybe familiar and predictable. And yet we are called to journey, not always knowing the destination or whether we will be the same when we arrive on new shores. In response to the panic of the disciples, Jesus calms the storm, stills the wind and the waves, and asks, "Where is your faith?" I firmly believe that we must trust and have faith that God is calling us into new ways of being. Perhaps we need to name our fear because then we might move towards a place of faith and be open to listening, noticing, and responding in new ways. The journey always takes us forward, never backwards to the way things were. And I wonder if we are open and prepared to be transformed by this new journey.
Thank you. And the choir and Barry have picked out a perfect anthem. Ian Callanan, wrote this piece. It's called "Love is the Boat for the Journey." Love is the boat for the journey. You. That was beautiful. So what do you think about storms? Are you one of those people that just loves them? There you go. Or are you a little bit wary? Or maybe a bit of both, hey? Well, right from a young person, I have been in awe of storms. But I have to say, I prefer to be safe inside as the storm rattles all around, rather than, say, be in a tent on the edge of a cliff as the storm comes in. So what about storms? How do they happen? All storms are a change of some sort. You have got a movement of air from high to low pressure, and there's a storm. You've got the movement of those tectonic plates on the earth. And often that movement creates tsunamis. Then you have got volcanic eruptions. And you've got the dust in the atmosphere that creates what is weirdly called dirty thunderstorms. There's dust as well as the thunderstorms. Humans are the only creatures on Earth that have become weather makers, storm creators. And we do this to our own detriment and to all living things on this earth. Decade after decade, we have been creating through what is known as climate change, or perhaps more appropriately, climate crisis, storms that have become more frequent, intense, destructive. Think about the heavy rains and strong winds that we've had this summer, bringing floods and uprooting trees. Yes, there is a more benign aspect to this increase in water. Everything stayed green longer. Have you noticed that in July and August, we didn't get brown grass? It's coming now because of the change in the seasons. Storms, whatever their origins, in a sense, parallel our life journeys because they bring with them constant change. It's movement from one situation to another, usually something that we're familiar with into something that was unexpected or unfamiliar. And there is something deeply unsettling about crossing from one state to another. And I want to use that word crossing. We'll be thinking about it both from the biblical story and from our story. Many people have lost their lives making crossings of all sorts, crossing rivers and mountains, crossing the road. Death is sometimes referred to as crossing over. And think of desperate people, refugees who are forced to leave their homelands, crossing seas in makeshift crafts. And this past week, we heard of people that died trying to cross the English Channel from France in an inflatable dinghy. 8 people died out of a group of 53 that were desperately seeking new life. These people were migrants from Eritrea, the Sudan, Syria, Afghanistan, Syria, Iran. And they were willing to risk that dangerous crossing in the hope that they would move from persecution and war to safety and hopefully a more stable life. And today's biblical story is all about a crossing. The gospel writer Luke tells us that one day Jesus got into a boat with his friends and he said, "Let's cross over to the other side." Sounds kind of ordinary, doesn't it? Let's just get in a boat and go on to the other side. But that choice had life-threatening consequences. And as so often happens in these stories of Jesus, we need to look beyond the storyline. We need to discover the various layers that are part of this story. And we need to embark on a voyage of the imagination so that we can think about how this story connects with our lives and our living today. So I'm going to kind of explore this crossing story from the sense of the choice, the crisis, the calm, and the call. All C words. Do you notice that? So the choice. It might seem that sometimes we don't have a choice, but I think we pretty well always do. Somewhere along the line. We might choose to buy a house overlooking the ocean and we focus on the marvelous views and we're not thinking about those unpredictable storms that might erode away at the foundations of the house. Fertile, alluvial soil of a floodplain entices farmers all around the world to plant their crops, to reap the bounty so that they can feed their families until a flood comes and washes it all away. So what was Jesus's choice in this crossing story? Why was he in that boat in the first place? Because it wasn't just a pleasure trip. He decided that he wanted to cross over into the foreign country of the Gerasenes. He could have stayed home in familiar territory, but he was beginning to discern that his message was for all people. It was beyond the people of Israel. God's message of love was for everyone, which meant that he needed to go to different places. And sometimes those choices bring with it the unexpected. Jane was talking about that. They don't always take us where we'd hoped. And sometimes a crossing can have a crisis, as we know from that story. That storm hit unexpectedly. And in the midst of the crisis, what's Jesus doing? Sleeping. I know, weird, hey? Now, I find it really, really hard to imagine sleeping when the winds are whipping up the waves. I was sailing in the Virgin Isles when a tropical storm hit with hardly any warning. Now, I can still feel the strength of the elements as I was struggling and helping to get down all the sails. The most difficult was the mainsail. And even though I was wearing a safety harness, I did not feel secure. And there is absolutely no way that I could have slept through that tropical storm. And I can understand Jesus's friends being a little perturbed, even though they were experienced sailors. Now, for me, we did manage to get the motor going, the sails down, and we motored to a tiny uninhabited island. It was a pinprick on the charts, but we were able to shelter in the lee of this island and waited out the storm. And as we were waiting, I was thinking, was this really such a good idea? To be sailing in this part of the world in hurricane season? because it was, and we knew that. But that was the only way we could afford to sail in that part of the world, which is absolutely phenomenally beautiful. So we were willing to take the risk, hoping that we wouldn't have to experience the storm that we actually did. But there you go. So taking an opportunity to reflect after a stormy period in our lives, whatever that happens to be, is really, really important, I think. It might make us think about ways that we could do some things differently. But let's think about the calm period after the storm. And we think about the storms of life, or at least I thought about the storms of life. And I was thinking as I was writing this about those rare people who seem to keep their cool when everything else is going crazy all around them. And then I thought, you know what? Maybe, Karen, you should check that out. Is that really a thing? You know, are there only some people that keep calm while everything is going wild around them? So it was interesting. The University of Delaware, they have a disaster research center, and that's been running since 1963. And what they do is conduct field studies. They've done just over 700 to date. And they go to places that have been hit by catastrophes, storms, earthquakes. And they go out on site and they look at what is happening. What are the people doing in the midst of this catastrophe? And the results, not just 99%, every time they have gone to a place where a disaster has struck, they find that the people are staying calm and they are helping each other. We do that much more than we would like to acknowledge. When things get rough, we really do pull together to help each other. So that metaphor of calm after the storm in the Jesus story now speaks differently to me. It speaks about not just thinking about ourselves, but considering others, being a part of coming together. And I think part of that is it's important to have a goal. I think that's what brings us together. So it got me thinking, all right, so what was Jesus's goal? Why was he in this boat? Why was he going over to this foreign country? And often come back to when he preached in his hometown of Nazareth at the beginning of his ministry, when he takes that scroll of the prophet Isaiah and he says, God's Spirit is on me to bring good news to the poor, pardon to prisoners, and recovery of sight to the blind. To set the burdened and the battered free. To announce this is God's time. That's what I think of when I think of Jesus's mission statement, his purpose. So Jesus had faith that this purpose of bringing freedom and release and vision to people who were struggling. And maybe that's how he could sleep in the storm, because he was confident in this. Storms abate, don't they? They always do. Maybe Jesus had a hand in calming that storm. I don't know. But the power of the story for me is that he didn't sail back to safe harbors. He continued on his mission and his ministry of service and love for others, of bringing God's all-encompassing love to much more than those people that he knew best. So he disembarks on the other side. And if you read a little bit further past the story, which is, I love doing that. Okay, so what happens after the story? Well, he steps out, they get safely to the other side, and they immediately encounter a person who is described as being plagued by demons, someone suffering from multiple personalities. So they are right back into a storm of a totally different kind as they step on shore. And sometimes we think about calm as not doing a whole lot. And there are times for that. But I like the late actor Michael Caine's suggestion. He says, be like a duck, calm on the surface, but always paddling like the Dickens underneath. So keeping calm, working hard, they're not mutually exclusive. There are times when a calm demeanor is really, really helpful to help us achieve our goals. And this is where the call might come in. The reason why we're doing what we're doing. And sometimes that idea of calling or being called is misappropriated in some sense. It can be used as a justification of basically just doing what you want to do, what I want to do. Because who is going to challenge us when we say, well, I'm called to do it? Especially if we add the God word in. I'm called by God to do this. Maybe. I like to look at the ancient Greek word for called. It's klesis. And often you get more nuance in a different language than perhaps we understand in the English. And the nuance of the ancient Greek word klesis is it's pointing to God's unwavering delight and unconditional love. That is what is at the bottom of a call. So call in the sense of being non-judgmental, joy-filled, life-loving, overcoming our own fears and not taking any notice of the fear-mongering that goes on around us in this world. Because fear constricts, it paralyzes, it spawns such appalling comments as immigrants are the cause of the housing crisis. Fear results in bills, government bills that want to target transgendered community, attempting to restrict transgendered young people's participation in school sports. Fear makes skillful fisherfolk doubt that they can make it through a storm on their familiar lake. The real heart of the storm, perhaps, is fear of change. Was that storm really so bad? Or did Jesus' disciples not want to go to the territory of the Gerasenes? And maybe that's why Jesus asked the question, where is your faith? Perhaps he is referencing that they are heading into unfamiliar territory. And as the waters calm, his friends' excuses kind of falter on their lips. But it brings us back to us, doesn't it? Are we willing to call out the Spirit of Jesus sleeping in our battered boats? Do we believe that we are being called to God's scandalous grace? called to unleash our spirit-given gifts in all areas of life? Are we willing to stop making excuses? We are called as the ceiling crumbles, as water leaks through the roof. We are called to joy-filled living, which encompasses all people. Yep, the crossing will be rough, the landing uncertain. But does this place matter enough for us to overcome our fear? Are we able to live into our calling? Are we able to join with others on the journey? And Jane points out our hesitancy around using those words faith and calling. And just by chance, I was looking for something else in a book, and I came across this quote from Walter Parkinson. He says that love, justice, freedom, and healing are the children of faith. Love, justice, freedom, healing are the children of faith. That's what faith is based on. So ultimately, faith is trust in the strength of love. I wonder where that might take us. So let us sing our next hymn. You might pick up on that hymn is about another kind of boat story, but that's okay. It all kind of melds together. So let us sing Jesus, You've Come to the Lakeshore. It's in Voices United, 5, 6, 3. So as we prepare to offer our monetary givings, which are important for the ministry of this place, but as I always say, those are not the only things that we have to give. We have our life experience. We have our stories. We have the things that we can do, the time that we can give. We have the prayers that we can offer. There are so many things that we can offer to God during this time. So our offerings will now be received. I invite Jane Wedlock to lead us in the prayers of the people.
Let us still our hearts and minds and bodies and come together in prayer. God of mystery, we do not always know what to believe, what to think, how to be faithful. But we know that this journey of learning called life calls us to love powerfully, deeply, courageously. We come in deep gratitude for the way that each one of us is loved, surrounded by your compassionate presence, whether we know it or not. God of stories, we give thanks for the opportunity to revisit familiar parables of Jesus, to listen anew and to reflect again on the truth that lies within. May we embrace new insights that can help guide our individual and collective journeys. May our awareness be heightened. May we take comfort in the knowledge that there is extraordinary power for good at work, even in what appears to be insoluble situations. And when the storms of our own lives overwhelm us, we can seek stillness and calm, patience, steadfastness, and take steps with hope and confidence in you that the path forward will be revealed. Loving one, yesterday was the UN International Day of Peace, and the theme for this year, cultivating a culture of peace, an aspiration that seems so far away from reality, with endless daily reports of deadly fighting. It can be difficult not to despair. But as we look to the future of this church, our desire to be a vibrant presence in this rapidly changing community, help us to live as beacons of love and hope. May we be known for our commitment to understanding and working across difference. May we seek partnerships. May we strive to welcome the newcomer in our midst, to speak out against hatred, to learn and celebrate what we have in common, as well as seeking understanding about that which may be less familiar. Encourage us to explore what we might do together to foster belonging and welcome, helping each other to identify our giftedness, to share with each other and the world, committed to building that culture of peace. And now let us take some time in silence to lift up those who are foremost in our minds and hearts, and those who cannot see the way forward. May the Spirit's breath move among these corners of concern, gently touching and comforting those who are struggling. And now let us join in the paraphrase of the prayer of Jesus. Indwelling God, free-flowing Spirit, infused throughout all existence, we honor you with many names. Your Spirit is within the human heart. We accept life for all that it can be, on earth as throughout all creation. May we continue to draw sustenance from this earth, and may we receive forgiveness equal to our own. May we move from separation toward union, to live in grace with love in our hearts forever and ever. Amen.
So let us sing together our Voices United hymn 659, Eternal Father, Strong to Save. And on life's journey, we all need sustenance in various ways. And sometimes we get that by coming together with friends, with beloved community. That's one of the things that's offered right now after the service. If you have time, please come through to Centennial Hall. Engage in conversations. Yes, eat delicious goodies, and you might need a drink. That is excellent. And if you want to contribute to that part of the ministry of this place, there is a sign-up board. So please consider helping out with this hospitality time. So as we try to be a blessing one to another, let us sing our blessing. And I invite you to be seated as Barry shares some closing music on the piano.